get Julian to come home anyway. That's what we're here for today. Thank you very much. We're standing up for Julian.
He needs your help.
Free Julian Assange.
Are we ready?
Testing.
Good afternoon everybody, and thanks for turning out. Today we're here to thank Balthazar Garzon for his amazing work and the campaign to support Julian Assange.
Let's start with our human rights lawyer, Adriana Navarro. She'll speak in Spanish first and then in English to tune us into what's going on.
Hi everyone. So the purpose of today is to say thank you to Balthazar Garzon and all of the lawyers in Spain who have made possible an interview between Julian Assange and the Spanish courts. Because thank you goes to Balthazar, we are doing it in Spanish. Sorry about that. Hoy 20 de diciembre del 2019 y después de meses de espera y peticiones, los tribunales británicos han finalmente permitido a un juez español entrevistar a Julian Assange. Y esto es sobre una querella criminal contra una empresa de seguridad española, la cual ha estado cometiendo espionaje contra Julian Assange por más de 5 años. Este espionaje consiste en grabar todas las conversaciones de Julian Assange con sus abogados, con sus médicos, con sus amigos, con sus familias, conseguir ADN de Julian Assange, conseguir ADN de niños, conseguir el grosor de las habitaciones de Julian Assange donde él dormía para poder grabar sus conversaciones. Y toda esa información se ha ido a la CIA en Estados Unidos por todos estos años. Entonces, por 5 años Julian Assange ha sido sujeto de espionaje por una compañía pagada por Estados Unidos. Sabemos esta información porque el ex juez español Balthazar Garzón y su equipo han estado investigando y comenzado esta querella en España. Esta información es extremadamente importante porque le permitirá a Julian Assange poner las objeciones necesarias en el caso de la extradición que se lleva contra él. Al momento de ser sujeto de espionaje, Julian contaba con protección como sujeto internacional, como asilado, y por eso sus derechos han sido violados y el Tribunal del Reino Unido no debe aprobar su extradición. Queremos agradecer formalmente a Balthazar Garzón y a su equipo de abogados españoles por no haber nunca vacilado y continuar apoyando a Assange a lo largo de estos años. Gracias, Balthazar Garzón. Gracias a todos los abogados españoles que trabajan con usted, en particular Virginia Aragón, Segura y Aitor Jiménez. Solo deseamos que el gobierno australiano hubiese trabajado tan fuerte como ustedes para liberar a Assange. Gracias, Balthazar, Virginia y Aitor desde Australia.
So this is a big shout out, thank you to Balthazar Garzon and the other Spanish lawyers in the WikiLeaks team. Today the 20th of December, after months of wrangling, the British justice system has finally agreed to let a Spanish judge interview Julian Assange regarding the allegations that the Spanish security firm spied on him for years while he lived in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. The UK court should have granted permission to interview Assange immediately, but they resisted for over 3 months, resulting in criticisms that those courts might be biased against Assange. The allegations relate to grave violations of client-lawyer privilege existing between Julian and his lawyers about Julian's possible defences to the extradition charges he now faces. Those conferences were secretly recorded, videotaped and passed on to the CIA from 2015 until late 2018. The owner of Spanish security firm UC Global is alleged to have secretly planted microphones and cameras in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, including Julian's bedroom, inside the bathrooms in the embassy, and underneath fire extinguishers around the place. In addition to recording and videotaping all of Assange's meetings, the security firm collected information on every visitor Assange had during those years. They took apart and photographed the cell phones of the American journalists who visited Julian, and they also broke into those visitors' laptops, which had to be left at the entry of the embassy. The security agents then downloaded their contents to the server and gave unrestricted and remote access to that server to the CIA. These records would permit the CIA to hack the phones of all of Assange's visitors. The CIA also selected people around Assange's high-priority targets to spy on. They included Assange's doctors, lawyers from the UK, Spain and Australia, journalists interested in this matter, Assange's children, and anyone who was trying to secure Assange's freedom. Spying on Assange was relentless and non-stop for years, and included collection of DNA from Assange, an attempt to collect DNA from the dirty nappy of a baby who visited Assange with his mother. The security company also passed on information on the width and composition of the walls in Assange's bedroom, so that the Americans could direct listening devices towards that room from a post set up outside the embassy. We are certain that these surveillance operations led to the expulsion of Assange from the embassy, as the new Ecuadorian president is most likely approached by the US administration and the CIA to prevent Assange's freedom. Court documents were lodged in Spain, as the security company is Spanish. Those documents indicate that Morales was getting 200,000 EU per month from the CIA for his dirty work. And this doesn't mention the billions in loans and so on. Assange's lawyers have lodged much evidence with the Spanish courts, which confirms that Morales and his company were working for the Americans for years. Charges have been sought against him and his company for breach of privacy, money laundering, and misappropriation of assets and information. We've only been able to learn about this relentless spying on Assange and this grave interference with his right to a proper defence as a result of the work of a number of Spanish lawyers working under the supervision of former judge and human rights activist Baltasar Garzón. These lawyers' findings will be crucial in Julian's objections to his extradition to the US. Julian has sought protection against these actions. Julian has sought protection against the actions of the Americans, and as a person protected under international law, his rights were violated. The UK courts must not grant an extension in those circumstances. We want to formally thank Baltasar Garzón and his team of lawyers for never faltering and continuing to support Assange throughout these years. Gracias, Baltasar Garzón. Gracias to all the Spanish lawyers working with you, in particular Virginia, Iron, Segura and Ayatollah Jimenez. We only wish the Australian government worked as hard as you have done to free Assange. Thank you, Ms. Baltasar, Virginia and Ayatollah. Thank you from Australia.
Hello, my name is Mercy Wolf. I'm an activist, and I'd like to read some comments from Andrew Wilkie, who is the chair of the Bring Australia Home parliamentary group. I'm hopeful we can build a parliamentary alliance and a public campaign to bring Julian Assange home to Australia. Whatever people may think of him, he is an Australian citizen and has rights, and journalism is not a crime nor espionage. Remember that the current extradition charges relate to WikiLeaks stories that won them multiple international journalism prizes, including the Australian Walkley Awards for 2011 for Most Outstanding Contribution to Journalism. If Assange, as an Australian citizen, is extradited to the US, he can face the death penalty or 175 years in jail, a death sentence in itself, on the back of a clearly political motive pushed by the likes of Donald Trump that sets a very dangerous precedent, not just for journalists around the world, but for all of us. If the US can get someone extradited for publishing whistleblower information from any country with any citizenship, today it may be Assange, but tomorrow could be your son or daughter. Who knows where this will end? A very slippery slope indeed. So bring Julian Assange home. Stop this senselessness and vengeful extradition.
Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca McGlone, another Australian just doing her little bit to help free Julian Assange. Independent member for Clark, Andrew Wilkie, stated in Parliament in Canberra recently, yes, Julian Assange is a controversial figure, but he is an Australian citizen and must be treated like any other Australian. He was not in the US when he provided evidence of US war crimes in Iraq. He can't possibly have broken their laws. If Assange is indeed extradited to the US, he faces serious human rights violations, including exposure to torture and a dodgy trial. And this has serious implications for freedom of speech and freedom of the press here in Australia. Because if we allow a foreign country to charge an Australian citizen revealing war crimes, then no Australian journalist or publisher can ever be confident that the same thing won't happen to them. The man's an Australian. He's not an American, and he wasn't in the US when he spoke out about war crimes. Put simply, Julian Assange must be allowed to return to Australia. Thank you, Andrew Wilkie, for urging the federal government to do more to allow Julian Assange to return to Australia.
I'm Danielle Wood, and I strongly believe that the persecution of Julian Assange must come to an end immediately. We need to get him home, we need to get him medical care as soon as possible. I have the honour to read Bob Carr's words. Bob Carr has also come in support of Julian Assange and why he should not be extradited to the US. Bob Carr has indicated that Julian Assange is in fact a political prisoner. Carr has said, first and foremost, the present condition of Julian Assange needs to be addressed. I think it is as brutally simple as this. If he were, God prevent, to die in prison, then the finger will be pointed with total justification at the political leaders who have allowed him to be in maximum security, with intermittent access to his legal representatives and denied access to the papers he wants to prepare his defence. I want to send a message to my friends in London to think carefully about holding a political prisoner like this in maximum security, and think of how you might be held responsible should the worst happen. We are asking you, Scott Morrison and Foreign Affairs Minister Pence, how would you justify to the Australian community if Julian's medical condition worsens and, God forbid, if he were to die in prison as a political prisoner, when it is in your hands to speak to the US and UK governments and get Julian free?
mean, look what's just happened at one of our decent competitions yesterday. I'm a socialist. I actually get the paper each week.
We are here
Every Friday. Yeah,
Join us.
I'm enjoying it.
5:30.
Yeah, because I'm actually just waiting for my friends on Hurry.
Join us. 5:30 Fridays.
Okay. Free Assange! Free Assange! End tyranny of the US imperialist capitalists! Impeach Trump! Impeach Trump! Don't let him get away with it!
Yeah, brother. Free Julian Assange.
Thank you very much.
He needs to come back home as soon as possible. He is another Aussie like you. He needs help.
Hi, my name's Michelle, and I strongly condemn Scott Morrison's inaction about Julian Assange, and I call on him to pick up the phone and do the right thing and bring our Julian home. You've done it before. The Australian government's done it before with Peter Gresta and with James Ricketson, so it can be done with Julian. Here are some words from Peter Wish Wilson, Senator Peter Wish Wilson. There have been accusations that WikiLeaks and Assange merely dumped material online. I have been reminded that WikiLeaks withheld a full third of the Afghan files to protect individuals, that Assange himself redacted tens of thousands of names from the Iraq files, and that Cablegate was only made available due to reckless publication of the password by The Guardian. It all comes down to this. Journalism is not espionage, and Assange's extradition to the country whose war crimes he exposed sets a dangerous precedent for press freedom and our democracy. However, where there is courage, there is hope. We are building a campaign to bring Assange home. As Julian says, courage is contagious, and his courage sure infected me to see the world differently, as did the collateral murder video and other truthful material revealed by WikiLeaks. It's well past time to bring this Australian home.
He wants to come back home. Julian Assange. Please do Julian Assange.
Free Julian Assange.
Thank you very much.
Free Julian Assange.
I'm just delighted to be here with the group. It's been a long journey for Julian, and we really wanted him out as soon as possible. There's so much danger for his life. We gotta double up our vigilance, be strong, courageous, and thankful for everyone who's been here. I really appreciate it. It's amazing me. The thing that comes most often is they use the word charges.
Yes.
And they make the difference as journalists between charges and allegation, because it's an whole lot. We need evidence for charges, which I never had to start with.
Well, I would have thought that the journalists that have a lot of experience would know, but I saw one on RT the other day, and he was interviewing Niels Meltzer, and he said charges.
Yes, they just can't help themselves. And I'm about to correct one of the RT article who is actually quoted by defendwikileaks.org. They use the word, it's not about charges though, it's about justified because they don't talk about being seeking asylum, not hiding, but really protecting themselves.
Once upon a time, like back when I was in my youth, the US Army war machine would cover up the truth. But they can't do that anymore, 'cause now they've got the proof of the way they throw their weight around. And your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. We know what you're doing in your dirty little war. It's the same thing you've been doing time and time and time before. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. Remember that old saying, don't shoot the messenger? Well, Julian Assange is a messenger. He's not a traitor. He held up a mirror to the people of the USA to show them what is really going down. And your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. We know what you're doing in your dirty little war. It's the same thing you've been doing time and time and time before. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret. Let's sing it one more time. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. We know what you're doing in your dirty little war. It's the same thing you've been doing time and time and time before. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret. No, your dirty little secret ain't a secret. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. Thank you very much.
Is not an instruction manual.
That's good.
Make George Orwell fiction again. Yeah, sure. There's a few things that you can do there to help support him.
Another one over here.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Just do,
That's the leaflet.
German modern, you can write to Foreign Minister Maurice Payne. Sorry? Yeah, he's an Aussie.
I didn't know he was.
This is medical doctor.
Oh, okay. Can I have these?
Yeah.
Oh, that was one.
That's up all the journalists.
No. Holding here. And
He's in Belmarsh,
this
President.
is the one being put together by the gentleman here.
Right.
And then you can,
It's been updated.
being updated. And then you can sign on our petition.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do
So the
that,
link
yeah.
is in one of my articles.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you very much. And we are here every Friday.
Every Friday. Okay, good. Okay, no problem.
Hope to see you one day.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks
very
very
much.
much.
That's it, mate. Free him. Cheers, buddy. Free Assange. Free him. Poor man. He's only, he's trying to help us out. That's all he's trying to do. Just help us out.
Stand up for freedom, please. Stand up for Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange.
That's the number of people we've got. So if you can just, that's the link there. Yeah. Can you, man. And then we are here every Friday from 5:30. So hope to see you.
I hope
So, yeah.
we need to speak with the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
For the ladies. Oh, yes. Yeah, she is the one. You can even write to your local MP.
My local MP
But do the online petition is. Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, this is. Oh, give me your heart.
Thank you very much.
It's hard to keep up with all of them.
Once Steve done the YouTube, I'll send it.
Yes,
Send it to
because
you.
I
he
share.
got he got the first one. He shared with
Share a
his
lot.
community.
Yeah, I did.
Photos and everything.
And even from Bolivia, they send me back saying, "Oh,
Are
good."
you from Bolivia?
Yes.
And there's a lot of trouble there.
But you know, the Americans start moving their muscles again. And what I hate is they put in the religion as a gun. That's not fair. I mean, I'm not religious, but you know, they couldn't take it out Evo Morales unless was that you know, putting something against, and you know where the priests were, they approved to go and shoot the protesters, and most of them they're poor. I mean, you know, from the very, you know, all the people who are, you know, agriculturals and poor. They were being shot, and they said it was from the planes, helicopters, and the government denying. They said, no, they shot each other.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they do.
shot each other.
Oh,
They do that.
They just
They do
say
that.
anything. They do that. Yeah.
He's in Belmarsh prison at the moment. Where's that? In England. Yeah, he's waiting extradition here. Just because he exposed to crime.
Oh, he started.
I'm going to support him. We're here every Friday.
I've seen you guys before.
Yeah. If you give me your email address, I'll send you the link. You can do our petition. Do you want to do that? Yeah. Okay. Keep me a nice writing, okay?
You guys are doing the exact same thing.
Exactly.
In my opinion, you're doing a better thing. You're doing stuff that actually means something in the world.
We got to understand each
There's been a lot of smears with all that rubbish that they tried to all that stuff in Russia as well. All that saying that Russia is
Oh, yeah.
starting to come out now as well. Yeah, all the best, guys. Have a good Christmas. No problem. All that Russian stuff has just come out and it's all rubbish. Well, it says here, US Federal Court Judge John Codall just recently dismissed a case by the Democratic National Committee against claims that Assange and WikiLeaks colluded with Russia in the 2016 election, stating that the newsworthiness of WikiLeaks publishing activities deserves the strongest protections that the First Amendment can offer. And that's coming from a US Federal Court judge.
See the link for the taxation department, they're doing some rotten bloody things that should not happen on civilised.
Oh, the robo dead, things like that. Yeah. I've read a bit about that.
When Scott Morris, well, the guy who exposed it, they said he could get 152 years jail. And Scott Morrison said, oh, well, I'm happy to see Australian law being applied.
Ridiculous. These things have got to end, mate. That's why we're out here doing this, mate. He's in Belmarsh prison in England. Yeah. That's it. Belmarsh prison in England. Yeah, here's some information if you're on, mate. Just on what he's doing and some things that you can do to help support him. Yeah, we've got a petition.
Oh, yeah.
I'll sign it, yeah. For sure, mate.
I'll sign it. And I will just write it somewhere. smarter than I can read it, okay?